Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We are coming at you live for Coffee and Cards. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it, Kara?
Yeah. What is
We have
time?
we've allowed summer to come to its completion, although we're still in its energetics and we're ready to dive into coming into these Coffee and Cards live for this fall. And I think it's a pretty powerful time to step into that, wouldn't you say, Kara?
Percent. Today feels wild to me. Well, and so did yesterday, but today feels particularly like intense.
Quite energetic. And we just actually experienced that with technical difficulties for the last, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
And we're live now. So while we were getting everything set up this morning, we want to begin our coffee and cards with a little live read on a collective scale. And this is something that Kara and I do on a regular basis, and it always integrates into what we're experiencing on the collective charge. And funny enough, when we discussed what we would love to go in with you all today, the cards, of course, spoke exactly to those energetics. So today, just so you're aware, in case you really like the cards, we're connecting it with an Akashic Tarot deck and a Herbal Astrology deck. Carrie, you got me this one.
Yeah, I love that one. I love them both, but yeah.
Same, right? And I got gifted this one too, actually, I think from Allie.
Nice.
So they're both been gifted decks. And the coherence for the collective that we've aligned with this morning. So we have quite a few reversals. And what a reversal means in a card deck, if you're newer to the tarot oracle pulls, it's in essence, it's the inversion of the positive effect from the card. So every card has a different depiction to that. And the Akashic deck specifically, every card holds the different dualities of the frequencies. But again, when we have an inversion, which is what we're going to talk about today, it's connecting more to those spaces that we're being asked to illuminate or look at within ourselves. Fair to say, hey, Kara?
Yeah, like the shadow side, maybe.
Yes, the
Yeah.
shadow side. So, our first inverted card, we had Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael is known as the guardian, the protector, the coherence, that kind of holds that container in that energetic bubble or sphere. When we're facing an inversion to that, and when we go into this specific deck, it talks about power struggle.
Mm.
It talks about where we hand or leak our power away. And this is an important one, I feel, for us all to look at, especially on a collective scale. We've had quite a course of events over the last 24 hours. And it's very important to witness again where we are putting our power, putting our energy, and where we are directing that on our own energetic scale and that collective scale. Behind that coherence, we have again another inversion, and it's the psilocybin card commune. Commune is a representation of community. If we're witnessing a power struggle within our energetics, this is broadcasting out through how we come into commune with community. And I think that this is something we're going to touch into this deeper today as well. But this is something for us all to look at and how we bring that alignment into community, unity within ourselves, and how we expand that coherence out. I want to touch on that real quick because a discussion I just had in relation to that card, it's very interesting that we're always focusing on the energetics of the world, how we can help fix, change, save the world. But why is it not that we focus that on our community, the unity that is right here in our foundations around us, building and structuring that in those energetic hubs so that we can reach out to one another? And that card just brought that awareness back up. How's
Totally.
that feel, Kara?
Yeah,
With
and I would
alignment?
really like to even take that deeper, like the community that you have within yourself, like building that foundation, which I know we're going to get into all of the inner things soon. So yeah, but I agree fully.
And that's powerful, reflection before I go into the next card here, where it's, that inner sanctum is what's going to build that community. So if those foundational structures are warped or fragmented, they're not going to hold that unity consciousness that we are working towards.
Exactly.
So it's like I said the other day, what is your intention behind your action?
Mm.
Where are we actually coming from and what we're structuring, what we're building for ourselves and for those around us?
Yeah.
The card that counteracted the commune card reversed is foresight. And foresight is all about vision. This card also connects us into cacao medicine, which is the heart, and again, our vision. So, how we're seeing, what lens of perception we're seeing through. I know this card as well, when we're facing it in a reversal, is about our ego self. So, again, where are we stemming from within, and what are we coming to shift to bring in that inner community? When we come into those spaces, we presently, on a collective scale, we're facing a chess game. And I love this card because this is how the world is right now. It's like one piece moves, and then we're extending into another fragment or piece or part that we're navigating into. And we kind of keep weaving back through the light and the dark and the light and the dark. Sometimes the darkness feels like it really pulls. Sometimes the light feels like it really pulls. This shows on a collective level that this is going to be the coherence the next while. So as we come into this inner community, how do we strengthen and fortify that as this chess game is playing?
Love it.
And yeah, that's our little spread to start for today.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful because, and I want to just touch on the like light and darkness thing too, because we have to really also remember that we live in a polarized universe. Like we just do. That's the base foundation energetically. Like we live in a universe that has negative and positive, masculine, feminine, like, it's duality. So I think that so often, and I kind of want to segue into this, is like, when we hit those depths of ourselves, or if we see the reflection of the darkness in the world around us, a lot of times we want to avoid it or bypass it or not look at it, and we only want to focus on the light and or what's right, which in essence also creates division. So I think that there is a lot to be said about really allowing ourselves to sit in the uncomfortableness as well, and not
Mhm.
feel like we need somebody to help us get out of it all the time.
Part of the rite of passage or that initiation in self is, we're traversing that underworld. That's how the ancient Egyptians taught it. It's like if we take a moment to look at this life as death and we're ascending into that new vibration of life, it's like we're traversing those under layers to
Yeah,
come back into our light.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
that that's, we've been talking about lately, and which it really is the foundation of Blue Lotus, is like we have to stop outsourcing our healing. Like there was a time when we needed that, but I feel like something in the energetics has shifted, and I
Mhm.
don't know exactly when it shifted, but it feels like now, like I don't know about you, B, but like if I'm ever on social media, I'm so inundated by people trying to solve my problems, which I understand has become a business now, and I think that the more we look for the things that are wrong with us, the more we're going to find, and it's going to be this never ending cycle of like not like never being healed. And I think we need to kind of like break down what it means to be healed, like, and think about what it means to be embodied and be present to all of the different things that rise up.
Healed and whole. When you said that, it was like healed and whole. And coming to that recognition, part of being whole is being human.
Exactly.
And part of being human means that we are holding all of those energetics, right? And of course, everything's a choice. Everything's a choice.
Mhm.
But there's almost like this addiction to
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah. It's like a hamster wheel.
Mhm.
I keep thinking
Mhm.
constantly circulating on this wheel of like, which is leading you that to this outside reality that somebody else has the answers for you. And sometimes other people do have the answers for you. Absolutely. Like you and I have like absolutely supported each other so
Yes.
many times, like other perspectives, in that way. So it's not like you're meant to do this alone, but it's coming back to the community, I think, again, like that feeling of being in community and having the people around you that can really reflect honesty and truth to you and help you get through things.
And being discerning, this is one of the most important things I feel too. No one should ever be tapping into your field or telling you, what's of your highest alignment. That in essence, it's manipulating frequency. It's holding that structure of hierarchy. I know more than you. It's showing that again, things are externalized instead of listening to your inner compass. When you go to someone like you and I, where it's like, for whatever reason, I can't see past this blind spot. Can you help me and just give me your perception, your feeling to that so I can feel into that as truth, right? And we always come back into that. It's like if that feels true for us. And
Mhm.
sometimes we can't see our own blind spots. Absolutely. That's why we stay in cycles and patterns that, we want to break. Maybe that's the context of it too, is we don't have to look at ourselves as unhealed.
Right. That's what I think. 100%. Like there's nothing broken. We're learning, and I think that getting back to what you said, like we're learning how to be human, which means that like we have this massive consciousness that has come from source and we're in a body. And
Yeah.
no doubt we're going to bump up against things all the time. Like, we have to. That's why we're here from my perspective anyway, or my belief system. So why do I want to think that there's something wrong with me? Why can't I just think that I'm just like, learning as I go, or learning more about myself? Because I think when there's something wrong, when we think there's something wrong with us, then we like have that, like we fragment parts of ourselves and we don't want to look at it. So we like, it's like we
Yeah.
kind of cut ourselves up into all these pieces of like, and that's where the shadow comes in, right? Where we want to hide these parts of ourselves and pretend we're something different than we are.
And make them better,
Yeah.
right? Where the reality is, it's like that is the coherence. So, how do we navigate and traverse through that in coming into our whole essence and being with that part of ourselves still being a part of who we are?
Exactly.
And you know what's so cool about this? So we have our podcast coming up with Ferd, right?
Yeah.
Ferd Mel's next week. Is that
Next week.
next week?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, I remember the day. He really speaks to this in his books about frequency.
Okay.
And this is very beautiful, to kind of tune into that. So if you're not a Blue Lotus Forum member yet, this is the interview we have next week. And we're going to do a few little segues on our Instagram and Facebook just so you can tune into Ferd's energy. He's lovely. Him and his wife, amazing, amazing combo. And he really touches into the awareness of like, okay, so this is my coherence and how do I navigate and traverse through that, through this life? Where in essence, I'm still embodied in the frequency of my inner light, my inner knowing, but that doesn't mean that I don't go through challenges. It's during these challenges or these more dense emotions that I'm able to be able to redirect myself back into holding the coherence of, my heart or my inner compass or my soul light. So it doesn't mean you don't feel your shadow element of things or your more dense emotions, but you're able to still hold
Mm.
that resonance within your essence of being or embody that
Right.
resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. I had,
Mm-hmm.
while I was away this summer, when I was having like, a challenging time, and I had reached out to Mel, our friend Mel,
Yeah.
and we were talking, and she said something very similar to that. And she was like, you have to remember the light that you are and call that in to your whole entire body. Like that's who you are. And let it kind of like govern, as opposed to the fear or the anxiety or the uncertainty, or anything that comes up that doesn't feel safe essentially in our body. It's like, and it's like deciding to be the adult in the room of the human, like rather than letting the wounds always be the ones that are speaking, and being able to hold yourself in that, I think is something really like essential.
Powerful. And
Yeah.
that reflective piece, like you said, it's coming back to that unification in yourself.
Right. Inner
So
space.
maybe that's kind of the space to hold within this call is, tune into where we're outsourcing.
Mm-hmm.
Really take a conscious look at where am I outsourcing? Even for myself, I'll know I try to be mindful with the social media things. Like I'll go on and put a few things up, but think of what they call like doom scrolling and things. A lot of that is it's an addiction force. And every time we're externalizing, that actually keeps us from our internal compass and our internal focus.
Yeah.
You're not going to miss anything. There's nothing to miss, right? And what you're meant to be directed to, you will always be directed to.
Yeah.
So it's how do we come back into that and really tuning into where that applies in our everyday, like our first card with Saint Archangel Michael. I call him Art like Arthur. I always do. So that coherence, It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Of where our power, though, our power struggle is, right? Because that's an exact example of it. That does create that power struggle dynamic in ourselves. And then it also creates confusion, delusion. Then we don't know how to listen to our internal compass.
And we don't trust ourselves. And I think
Exactly.
this is the thing too. And I mean, all of us have, like, we've been raised in the same type of society where, there's always people that know more than us from the time we're very young, and
Mhm.
so, um, through our parents, our teachers, whatever institution or system, is like following the rules, and somebody, hierarchically knowing more than you. And so I
Right.
think that it's a really like new concept for us to even
Mhm.
know that we could tune into ourselves, and that we could have the answers within if we just allowed ourselves to get quiet long enough, and to kind of clear away the distractions like the social media. And it is addictive, like 100%. And like I find myself on there sometimes, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, it's crazy, and then
Mhm.
um but you know it really comes down to like this avoidance of wanting to feel things. So it's like if
Mhm.
you're avoiding what's present, like in that, inverted or darkness or shadow aspect, then it's going to be challenging to um come back into, like, to find the light as well.
Mhm. I feel that strongly.
Mm.
And what a powerful tool to connect in with, to really establish that, like you said, to be long enough to quiet self, because sometimes we don't get those answers right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes time to learn how to communicate and discern with that soul voice, because we've operated for so long where we have bypassed
Yeah.
that true connection.
Yeah.
And I tune into this even with events that are happening in the world. Absolutely. If you're going to connect in with them, you're going to watch them. Come back into yourself, though. We have to learn true discernment, and true discernment is only going to be found through that inner compass.
Mm.
And that's where truth gets unveiled. And, one of the favorite sayings I always come back to, the truth will set you free, but it may piss you off first.
Usually it
So
does.
recognizing, it's like the truth isn't necessarily going to tell you what you want to hear, but it's going to speak to you in truth.
Yeah.
And that's like Archangel Michael with the sword of truth, right? It's like we really need to come into that discernment. And that's going to help us, reestablish those roots inside of our own community.
Mm. So let's just actually talk about that for a minute, because I think that everybody is going to have different ways that they can um, have that like true knowing that of their like inner communication. So for you, like if you were feeling into something and you wanted to, kind of see through whatever, you're working with, and if you wanted to come to the truth or be open to that, is how does that come to you?
So two things I always come back to. I'm either in my heart or I'm in my ego.
Yeah.
I'm going to touch on that before. It's like you can start to discern where the voice is coming from. And then I also come back into, if I can sit in that space of stillness, and really get that clear channel. So sometimes I'll hear certain things and then I redirect it in like, is that my truth? And I let my body be
Okay.
that compass and guide. It's like, what are you speaking through me? So for example, Allie, we were out for a walk beforehand and we connected in with something through the vibration. And what she said was exactly what I was feeling. So it penetrated like chill through the whole front of my chest. And that's where I can tell for myself and my body, it's like, this is true. Every cell I felt light up inside of my body and my field. And
Yeah.
that for me is like my discernment. How
Yeah.
about for you?
Yeah, no, very similar. Like, so talking about like ego and heart. So if I find that my mind's really active, and if I'm like,
Mhm.
if I have fearful thoughts, I know
Mhm.
that it's not my heart. Like if it's like anything to do with scarcity, or there's not going to be enough, or you're making a mistake, or any of
Right.
these things that come up that are like, basically the ego's way of trying to keep you safe, which is beautiful and also not accurate. So I would do the same thing, like decipher. And then it's the same for me. Like I've been trying lately to really feel into my body and see when it feels relaxed and when
Mhm.
it's open, which is basically what you're saying, or if it feels constricted. So it's like if it feels like I'm like wound up, it's like, okay, I'm not quite into something yet. I need to relax the body first. And then usually I'll have just like an inner knowing of like, this is the way, or um, some sort of like inner guidance of like, a next step.
And it's so powerful because it brings us back to our body,
I
like you
know.
just said. And while you were doing that, it's like, let's pick a card to that coherence, like how we learn to discern. And it was Mother Mary,
Uh,
Rosemary, ancient memory, right? So it's like we cannot listen to that memory in ourselves if we are like this.
we're swirling. No,
And of course, that's the coherence, right? I was guided to tune into that. I'll try to show them.
it's beautiful.
And she was upright.
Yeah,
She
grace.
wasn't reversed.
That was the one thing. So that the teacher I've been working with for the past, well, many years, was the one thing she always says is like, you need to get out of your wobble. You need to get out of
Oh,
the,
I like that.
because it's like if you're like this and wobbling, it's like you're never going to come to any sort of coherence or clarity from that state, because you're basically in the mind, you're in fight or flight, you're in survival mode. So it's like that's the first step. Like, let's
Yes,
address that first and get back into the body and
yes.
inhabit yourself, so that then you can be aware of the nuances of the body and when it relaxes and when, of that inner guidance. So I think that
And
anytime,
be patient,
yeah, anytime,
right, with it.
yeah,
Be
if
patient with it.
feel spun out, it's like that's never a time that you're going to come to any positive solution or ability to make decisions. There needs to be inner coherence first.
I still think of one day we were connecting in, and that was my coherence. I literally like remember the wind being wild that day, and I was like, "Ugh," and you're like, we're so angry. I'm like, yeah. And like literally like the winds like this, like when you really pay attention, our external environment is going to mirror and reflect that. It's like when we think a negative thought, you start your morning off like that, you're just going to keep magnetizing that all day. So you can't get clear from those spaces. You just can't.
So yeah, so I
It's
think this is the
like
thing, that a lot
too
of
much.
people in those spaces then book a session with somebody. They believe they need a coach to get them to somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's like they're in this really active, ejected from the body state, and they're like, okay, I can't do this alone. So then they like outsource rather than let's take a moment and come in. It doesn't mean you're still not going to maybe book that session or need to talk to anybody or get a reflection. But I think that, if we avoid addressing what's present, then to me, that's the bypass of like this whole, which we've been talking about, this like spiritual marketplace kind of like idea of, you know, that we need people all the time for every little thing rather than learning how to really like anchor in.
And those moments, like you spoke to, when we outsource, it's like those are the catalysts, or like when we walk through the fire of that alchemy. So this is where like we call, the self-initiation. It's like you're passing through that threshold. That threshold is not always comfortable. In fact, probably 99.9% of the time, it's not.
Yeah.
But when we extend to the other side of it and we're in more of that clear space, and if you're still feeling, support in that, of course, but allowing yourself to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and acknowledging that, if I just let myself be present through this, present. And this is where, again, Ferd's book comes in. He talks about how in that moment that actually alters your frequency. It shifts the coding in your cells. It starts to teach those cell memory a new direction, a new way, a new weave, so that you start to harmonize into a new coherence. So next time you go into a more uncomfortable moment, it's going to get a little bit more graceful. Doesn't mean you don't feel it, but it's a little more graceful. And the echo continues like that.
You're
And
building,
we've talked about,
you're
hmm?
building, you're rebuilding a foundation.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like we could talk in so much to
Yeah.
that, honestly.
But I
Yeah.
think too, like, because I've been thinking about this a lot for Blue Lotus and thinking about, like if I have this like distaste for this like ongoing healing and,
Hmm.
these, all of these things that I'm seeing that are, that I'm having a hard time with as far as being in integrity, or people who are embodied offering all these services, so I'm like, so what am I what's my intention with Blue Lotus, you know, because I want to make sure
Mhm.
that we're really clear. And what I've really come to is like, we're offering tools. Yeah, we're offering
Pick twice.
love, support, a space for people to come and navigate on their own, right? So it's like it's there, the container's there. I mean, we have so many meditations up there right now that, you
Yeah.
and I mean, there's so much information on there. But I think that that's what feels really good to me about this container is that it's like it's self-led. It's not me saying to you, oh, you need this one. It's like let your body tell you, like as you scroll through these meditations, which one are you called to? Great, do that one, and then
Hmm.
see what opens up. So I think that that's what I've come to as far as like, because I don't want to be hypocritical. I don't want to, be thinking like, oh, I don't like that, but I'm going to do something similar. Um, I want to be in integrity. And I think that it's really about following your inner guidance, is what Blue Lotus represents to me. It's like, here's all the stuff and have fun, enjoy, like ask questions if you need, but otherwise just like follow what feels good for you.
Follow your compass. And this is, I think, the most beautiful piece. Everything that we've put in there, we've chosen to put in there, it's self-sourced. So it always guides you back into you. There's nothing in that saying like, this is how it is, this is what is right, this is this.
Yeah.
This is something for you to feel into, to be a guide as connecting you back to your clairs, right? Your inner knowings, your direct compass. And when we focus our energy on those types of things, then we learn how to discern.
Yeah.
You and I have both been there with teachings, in the past where we're like, nope, this is how it is. And then look at where we come to now, where it's like, shit, man, like, I don't know what I believe anymore.
Exactly.
And right, exactly. And that's, I call like that floating Buddha space. I think we've talked about it before. We're like, that's the coherence ultimately where we can look at things from space of neutrality. And if we are living on a planet of duality, there is always going to be opposing sides. True peace doesn't mean worldwide, it means how you establish it in yourself. And I think that that's a potent thing for us all to look to. It's like we talked about earlier. Why are we always extending to other areas of our world where I'm sorry, but right here, right now, look at our community.
Yeah.
Look at the people around us. Look at even in the last few years, the homelessness.
Yeah.
People can barely feed, their families. People are ending up on the streets. Like those are the real time things that are going on. So if we genuinely want that peace, we need to start it within our community and within ourselves.
I agree.
And we can't do that until we've done that in here.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I love it. And then I think as we finish, I'm going to show the card
Yes.
that I pulled, which was
Oh, yeah.
the void, which to me is exactly what you just said, being in that neutral place of like, to me, that's endless potential. That is unlimited creation. Um, and being open, rather than so certain about a belief system, um, a teaching, anything, being open, you know, to all points of view. So yeah, I think that yeah,
Makes me think of, again, Mother Mary, right? The womb.
yeah,
It's the womb portal, right?
right. Yeah. And I think that really um the only way out is in, right? Like that's it. That's it. So get inside, learn yourself, like learn your own body cues on discerning what feels good and what doesn't feel good, learning how to be authentic, learning to use your voice from the heart, all of these things so that we can create ripples rather than, um, more division.
And to harmonize, we have to be in tune with our node.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest piece, when we come in, like you said, with like the marketplace of healing, we all are healers to the core. We all are. We all have access to the same information. No one is separate from that. No one is on pedestal. There is no hierarchy. Once we bust through all of those illusions, then we really can come into these spaces of harmonics and frequency and holding that light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Ooh, so good.
Love you, B. Thanks for the
I
chat.
love you, sister. I'm looking forward to next week's getting back in.
Yeah, let's see how everything is next week.
Buckle on.
Always.
Let's ride.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you're curious about Blue Lotus, we'll put a link in this description of the video so you can go check it out. And there's even a little online tour you can do as well to see what happens on the inside. Talk to you later, B. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, everyone.